Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all having a great weekend. We're going to talk about today the anti-Superman fans, the Snyderverse anti-Superman fans who want the upcoming Superman legacy to flop. Now, we don't have to call out any names. We're just going to take a look here at what some of your favorite Superman content creators, so-called Superman content creators, because I don't think they're that, how they feel about Superman, right? So we're going to break down kind of an amalgam of some of the reasons they give instead of just focusing on one, because these are all the same people as far as I'm concerned. It doesn't matter the size of them. They're all the same people. That's why they're on this list. And it's your favorite YouTubers, right, out there who are in this category, right? I don't have to call out their names. They're here, right? They're here. That's why they're making content like this. But we're going to show you why I believe they're going to be wrong. I tried to remember some of their key points as to why they feel this film will flop. Now some are uncertain. Sorry about that, guys. Give me a second. I'll turn off these notifications. Okay, hopefully that's better. You guys' favorite YouTubers, right? Some of them are getting a lot of likes, a lot of subscribers. And so I'm assuming then that means that there are a lot of Snyder fans out there, obviously so. There are a lot of Snyderverse fans out there who aren't Superman fans. But anyway, let's get into some of the reasons they give and what the actual facts are of the franchise. And again, guys, I've said it time and time again, this isn't me picking on Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder has done many films I like, but he doesn't do Superman, right, good at all. And he shouldn't do Superman ever again. And so this push to have the Snyderverse come back, which is never going to happen, I think it's insane. But, we're going to now go over why that's not going to happen, why it's a problem. And so we're going to get into that a little bit today. This is a good article, comes from Screen Rant, and it's entitled 10 Harsh Realities of Rewatching Man of Steel 10 years later. So I think it gave it was done back in 2023, but I think it gave a pretty much encompassing outline of the big issues with the studios, with this film, and with reality, as to this Superman franchise. So, first, let's talk about some of the things that the Snyderverse fans who want this film to snap that aren't Superman fans were saying. So, one of the things that they're on about is they're saying that this movie won't make $1 billion. So in other words, it won't be profitable, right? It won't be profitable, or it will underperform to the degree where it doesn't have a future, right? So let's talk about why I don't think that's true at all. Let's talk about some of the realities of what this Superman film has accomplished. First, it is the top 5 of the most viewed trailers of all time, right? It is high up there, right? Something like 250 million views or more, and counting, I think. Um, so that's a darn good start for a movie to reach $1 billion. In addition to that, it's coming out in the summer, July. I think it's going to be competing with a few films, but I don't think the uh, it's that month is lined up with, you know, anything on the level of a Superman film. Um, so I think it's going to be pretty quiet for the most part. I don't think it's really going up against a great deal of things. It's the summer. Uh, this is the Superman movie people want to see, right? And so it has all of the characteristics to put it on scale with being a good Superman film reaching over $1 billion, right? I think it's going to hit 1 billion. I really do, right? I really think it's going to hit $1 billion. Now, let's look at what the Snyderverse doesn't get. So, Screen Rant, this is one thing it brings out. It says that the Snyder's Man of Steel failed to capture the hopeful and bright essence of Superman, instead opting for a relentless, bleak tone that undermines the character. And this is what I mean by Snyderverse people aren't Superman fans, right? They really don't know what Superman is. The film provided a narrow representation of Superman as a character with unfulfilled plans to expand his narrative path, leaving viewers wanting more. Meaning the story was crap, right? The story didn't gel. And now you're going to hear a lot of people say things like, "Oh, well, when you explore the comics of Superman, you got characteristics that are like the Snyderverse version." Yeah, but you have an overwhelming amount of comic book content, more to the bright, optimistic Superman, right? And when it comes to affecting people in a level of content out there, there is no question that the Snyderverse version of Superman is like night and day to the level of content out there about Superman. Man of Steel portrayed Superman as conflicted and lacking leadership qualities. Right, he was uncertain, right, about what he wanted to be and what he wanted to do, making it difficult to imagine him leading the powerful heroes of the DC universe. Right, not Henry Cavill's fault. Right, and this is all the filmmakers' fault. Um, and it says down here, and it prompted Superman Legacy to fix its mistakes. It's fixing the mistakes, a big mistake made by the Snyderverse, right? That's the reality of it. Now, you want to get into numbers, right? They're arguing that this film won't make $1 billion, right? Man of Steel only profited I think it was like $43 million. And then Batman versus Superman only profited $120 million, greatly underperforming. These are the numbers. Now, this is where, because we can say whatever we want to say, but the reality of the situation is, when those suits down at Warner Brothers, if they're making billions of dollars, right, they don't care what we want to see. They're going to put that out there. When they underperform profit-wise, when investors put up money and they get these dwindling returns on their investment, right, that they could have got better if they just invested in the markets or something, that's when Warner Bros. Starts taking stuff off the shelves, right? And that's what happened here with this crap Superman franchise. It didn't make billions of dollars like Superman Legacy likely will do. Superman Legacy is set up to make billions of dollars. Man of Steel wasn't. Man of Steel was this kind of niche, weird version of Superman, right? And that's just the facts, right? That's just the facts. That's not even opinion, guys. That's that we got the numbers for that, and all of that, right? The Man of Steel is a very narrow representation of Superman as a character. That's the problem. That he's a very niche, a weird parallel universe version of Superman. I say he's an alien pretending to be Superman, right? And when you look at the storyline, right, of this Superman, right, the emotional investment in these characters, I wasn't emotionally invested in none of these people. And that's the problem when people say, like one of the big critics saying that this film will flop. He's talking about how James Gunn can't create uh, a Superman movie, that he can only do those team setups like what you get at Marvel. And he goes on about how how DC tries to constantly copy Marvel, right? To kind of jump ahead without doing the work to the value that Marvel's created after years and decades of setting up the Marvel universe, right? So his argument was DC comes in and they try to force it. I don't disagree with that, but that's not so far. That's not James Gunn. That's what the Snyderverse tried to do, right? And failed miserably at it. Um, yeah, that's what that is. That's not what's happening with the Gunverse. What the Gunverse, remember, they come from the success of Marvel. They come as the progenitors of making blueprints like this that work. So if anybody's going to do it, they're qualified to do it. James Gunn coming from Marvel, right? But the reason that true Superman fans would want this film to succeed and can see it succeeding is because not only is it cleaning up the mess of the Snyderverse, what it's doing is it's taking it in a different direction in a healthy way to the point we're seeing things we're not repeating. We don't need to repeat after failed Superman after Superman. We don't need to repeat that same formula. We do need to do something different, right? And to say that James Gunn can't tell a story, right? This guy's a storyteller, right? First, did you watch Creature Commandos, right? If you can bring me one person who didn't like how James Gunn did Creatures Commandos, how he brought all those so many characters together, known characters, not so known characters, and he made this great series, right, that we were so emotionally invested into. If you could bring me one person that didn't like that, I would be shocked, right? I haven't heard one person, as much criticism as they've given James Gunn, I haven't heard one person say that Creature Commandos uh, was not good. And remember, this is part of the DCU, right? These are big characters were in there that exists in the DCU, and they were all synergy around that. And that was a big preview to how James Gunn is able to tell these stories. We know he can do it. Zack Snyder doesn't have a chance of doing anything like that. He totally misunderstood the Superman interpretation. As Screen Rant goes on to say, many aspects of Man of Steel are distinctly forgettable in T minus 3, 2, 1. I can't even remember even all the scenes of Man of Steel, right? I wanted to get out of it. I was exhausted during the film, despite being one of the director's most popular movies, meaning that Man of Steel was the best out the franchise, and Man of Steel was only profited $40 million, meaning that if you're an investor with Warner Brothers, you're not making any money. It's no incentive to keep doing these films. And that's another thing Snyderverse fans need to understand, right? That when the Christopher Reeves Donner films fell off, I think the last one was done in around 1987, 1988, right? We went another 19 years, right? 19 years before we got another Superman film because of the crash out with the last Superman film uh, not the I would say the Donner universe, and I wouldn't even call it that. The first two movies are in the Donner universe, but in the Christopher Reeve franchise, that last film was so bad that they had to get away from Superman for almost 20 years, right? So here's what I'm saying: the Snyderverse is on that level of what happened to that in that last Christopher Reeve Superman film. And if this Superman film fails, right, Superman Legacy, we may not get another Superman film for another 20 years. So you guys need to think hard about seeing anything related to Superman. And if you're a Superman fan, you're not going to want that, right? As much as I hated Man of Steel, I prefer getting something to nothing. But it seems like these Snyderverse people don't even want to get anything, right? Man of Steel leaned too heavily in science fiction, right? The article saying that it didn't spend enough time in Metropolis being a humanity film, which they're right. This is the longest depiction of a Superman film on the planet Krypton. And although many of us wanted to see so much more time on the planet Krypton, this, as luck would have it, they do the longest version of Krypton in a film where we don't want to see Krypton this way. So the depiction of Krypton, right? Most Superman fans know this. They know that when they show Krypton, we get excited, and our biggest gripe is that we don't spend enough time on Krypton. But that's the planet Krypton we want to see. This alien, Prometheus, Romulus, Jurassic Park, crazy, weird depiction of Krypton, we couldn't wait to get off that planet. And they didn't let us get off the planet. So we spend the first almost hour of the film in a science fiction film, which could be a standalone film on its own. Krypton could be a movie on its own, right? And instead we get like 2-3 movies in one that we don't want, right? We want a Superman film and we get this, right? Which is a crap film. Man of Steel establishes an unsustainable franchise, right? Rewatching it reveals that despite starting a franchise, it was made with an apparent lack of foresight. One of the main criticisms leveled at Cavill's Superman is that his narrative's arc feels rushed. And though that's most obvious in Batman vs. Superman, a horrible film, and Justice League, a double horrible film, it began with Man of Steel. The film barely features Superman's home in Metropolis before the city is all but destroyed by General Zod, laying waste to an iconic DC location. In the first film of the franchise seems distinctly short-sighted. Looking back on Man of Steel. Okay, yeah, so, there you go with that. They talk about the crap of the CGI, right? So here's the thing, and I've always said this, I'll say it again. You can get by in a film with bad CGI if you have good character development, awesome story, good actors. Because here's the thing. If you're going to say that CGI makes the film, right? Then every generation of CGI is unwatchable and cheesy to the next, right? If you go back 20 years ago and you watch superhero films, you might go, hey, the CGI is crappy. The cinematographer might not be that great, but if that was a good story, you remember what was good about that film. That's why we could go back 30, 40 years and watch the first Superman and uh, be still blown away by that film and get so much out of that film and be still there invested in that story. You look over, right, the special effects of the day because of the heart of that film, right? And that's why it's so important to do good films. Man of Steel wasted some of his best ideas. Man of Steel places most of its narrative weight on exploring themes of belonging and xenophobia, pitting a peaceful refugee against a violent one with the future of their new home hanging in the balance. The dynamic of this creates between Superman and Zod is excellent. It examines their similarities while highlighting key differences. However, after setting up Zod as Superman's most dangerous enemy, Man of Steel then killed him off, wasting the opportunity to revisit Superman's final ties to his home planet in turn. This forces the narrative theme of xenophobia to solely surround the hero moving forward, or the pursuit of setting up the device of Batman. Okay, so Batman, right, becomes Zod. Now, I don't necessarily agree that killing Zod was how he killed Zod was a bad thing, but discontinuing Zod, like we've dealt with Zod, we go to the next movie with somebody else. It shouldn't have been Batman, but I don't so much disagree with that part. But how he killed Zod, right? It was horrible, right? It is not how Superman would have done things. And I know how they try to say, oh, he had no choice, but no, I don't believe that. Okay, and what was the other one? Man of Steel failed key elements of the Superman mythos. Though it leaned heavily on a sci-fi angle, Man of Steel failed to examine some of the most interesting parts of Superman's Kryptonian heritage